are back. Welcome back to Behind the Lens. I'm Debbie Lynn Elias, movie shark de Bloor. And this is Behind the Lens, where we go behind the lens and below the line with filmmakers, authors, stage, music. We're branching out more and more as all the different media intersect and, cross-populate. Last week, I think one of our best shows, thrilled to have children's book author Nancy Ann Gauthier and New York Times bestseller Steve Alton, both whose books are now being made into films. I can't wait to see with Steve's, having seen In the Heart of the Sea this weekend, I can't wait to see what Eli Roth does to bring his blockbuster book, Meg, to the big screen for Warner Brothers using CGI to create a megalodon shark. But today, for those of you keeping track, and everybody out there I know has been counting it down, today is the Star Wars premiere. And as everybody knows, it is bigger than the Oscars. And that is no understatement. Taking up 3 theaters in Hollywood, the Dolby, the El Capitan, the TLC Chinese Theater. All of Hollywood Boulevard from La Brea to Highland is closed down. It's all tented. So we don't know what's going on in there. But the film is out this week. In the meantime, big show for you today. For those of you that tune in and watch, we have tons of Star Wars accoutrement sitting here. We have the Disney Infinity Kylo Ren. We have the Google Box Star Wars The Force Awakens virtual vision viewfinder for the 21st century, and all kinds of cool things that you can pick up anywhere, including a great activity pack that Disney's made available to press that we can upload on websites so that you can download it. And it's fun, coloring, crayons. I'm sure that Jordan and Brian are just waiting to rip open the things with the Star Wars crayons and start coloring. Big day as promised. You're going to hear from last week's super secret press event with the stars and the creators of Star Wars The Force Awakens. But let me tell you who's coming up today. A real treat. We have the visionary director and producer Timur Bekmambetov. I can never get Timur's name right. Bekmambetov with us today live. He'll be talking about a project that he's heavily involved with. Timur's known for mentoring up-and-coming filmmakers and new talent. We saw this earlier in the year, what he did with Unfriended, with Leo Gabriades and Nelson Greaves. He saw vision in their ideas and in talking, and he got behind them and executive produced Unfriended. He was impressed by the work that Marja Lewis Ryan did on stage with a play called One in the Chamber. And he came on board and has taken Marja under his wing, and he is presenting, financing, producing her new play that is out called A Good Family, which is also going to be made into a film under Timur's banner. So we're going to have Timur and Marja both with us today. Very excited about that. And I'm hoping I can get Timur to spill a few more secrets about Ben-Hur since it's in post-production. But first, what everybody wants to hear, Star Wars. A lot of chatter going on last week. Chatter without divulging anything. But did manage to glean a few things from the talent at the super secret press event for Star Wars The Force Awakens. And of course, who better to start with than our beloved Han Solo, Harrison Ford, who talks about why he came back to do Han Solo.
It's because it's what I do. It's what I like to do. It's what's fun for me. I had a chance to work with people that I really admire doing something that I thought was going to be fun, and which actually turned out to be fun. And to work with JJ, whose work I had really admired and long known about. And it seemed like a good idea at the time.
And despite having a door fall on him, it was still fun. That's the most amazing part. And it tells you what a real professional Harrison is. And the look on his face, as you'll see on the video with some of the pictures that Jordan will insert in the video edit, he is truly happy. Truly happy. You see the joy when he talks about returning to play Han Solo. And, was there ever any doubt, what is it about, besides his love of the character and the franchise? Everybody who knows Harrison Ford knows there has to be story. There has to be something to grab him. There has to be something worthwhile to say in a part, which is one reason that the Indiana Jones 5 movie they haven't come up with a script yet that is enticing. So they're working on that. But apparently J.J. Abrams came up with something enticing that Harrison talks about.
It's gratifying to be asked to be part of this. There was a interesting story to tell through the character. It's always nice to anticipate working in something that people will have an appetite for. This is not a crapshoot. This is big casino, and it's fun to play with these toys again. It's been a great experience.
Harrison is one of the two real veterans coming back to a legendary role, Carrie Fisher being the other. Of course, we have Peter Mayhew, who is reprising his role as Chewbacca. Anthony Daniels is back. He is now the one actor who has been in all of the films, as well as C-3PO. Very, very exciting. But the two fit, and of course, Mark Hamill is back, but Mark Hamill is very hush-hush, and nobody's letting us even see Mark Hamill at press events. So it'll be exciting to see what happens with him. But in the meantime, the two real faces that we love that stand out are that of Han Solo and Princess Leia. So getting back into the character, it takes a lot. But how do you step back into something after 40 years? And for Harrison Ford, it's all about the clothes.
It seemed easy to come back to the character. Clothes make the man. I had walked more than a mile in those boots. I was interested in the described path of the character. I thought there was an interesting bit of business for the character to do, and I'd been having a real good time with J.J. Abrams talking about it and getting ready for the adventure of filming. So it was easy.
Well, somebody who had some interesting thoughts on getting back into character is Carrie Fisher, talking about being Princess Leia.
I'm the custodian of Princess Leia, so I never got out of character, and I wondered if that would be noticed. No, but I was very nervous. It's been, 40 years for other people, it's been a long time, and I don't like looking at myself at this age in a large way. So that was scary, and remains so.
And we've only seen one snippet of Carrie as Princess Leia in the trailers thus far. An interesting thing that she did come out with during the press event last week, talking about costuming, and we'll get to J.J. Abrams talking about costuming in a little bit. But her outfit, it is truly beautiful, and it was on display, and there are photos of it that I think Jordan is going to be sticking in this week's video that I took. Absolutely stunning. She said it looks like an elongated gas station attendant outfit, but it's done with a beautiful, beautiful blue moire silk that is absolutely gorgeous. So be on the lookout for that when you see the film. But for Carrie, Star Wars is a generational thing. You hear on the news right now all of these people that have been coming back. They've been camping out on the street for weeks. this is what they do when a new Star Wars film comes out, be it the original trilogy, be it the prequel trilogy, or now. They get together, and it truly is a galactic family. So Carrie Fisher talked about the experience of Star Wars being for the family.
That it's really a family experience. You know, I've had people over the years come, I'm showing this to my child at, you know, I didn't want to wait till they were 6, so I went with 5. And you watch your children watch the movie, and you learn something about your children. And will we like the same characters? And Halloween becomes kind of more of a Thanksgiving experience without the turkey. But you see all these pictures of entire families dressed as the characters, and I find that so moving. Sorry, but I do. It's just an amazingly emotional movie.
Well, and making this even more of a family experience for Carrie Fisher is the fact that her daughter, Billie Lourd, as we recently learned and was confirmed, does appear in the film. We don't know exactly what her role is, but we have seen images of her, and Carrie's daughter, Billie, is in the film. So it takes on a new meaning of family for Carrie Fisher. But new to the franchise now is Lupita Nyong'o, and Lupita is a very interesting tale here. She plays Maz Kanata. We don't know much about Maz. We do know that Maz is completely computer generated, which means that Lupita had to undergo an experience for the first time motion capture.
Playing a motion capture character, this was something completely new to me, and walking into a room, I had to do this thing where they had to take my picture from all directions at one time, and I had to stand in the middle, and there was 360 cameras all around me, and that freaked me out.
But the thing is, with motion capture, one thing that Lupita had to her advantage is working with Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis is one of the preeminent motion capture guys in the world. Many of you may have heard me talk about it or write about it over the years. When motion capture was first starting, before Peter Jackson started it with King Kong, Andy Serkis was at the National Association of Broadcasters convention. Motion capture and green screen were just starting out. And he demonstrated. And at that point, it was a dot on each hand, maybe a dot on the foot, and one sensor on the head was how they captured. And I even tried out the motion capture at that point. It was fascinating. But since then, the technology has become such so that now you can have over 200 sensors on a body. There's now the kabuki motion capture that came into play with Disney's Mars Needs Moms several years ago, where the face essentially becomes a mask of kabuki sensors. And that's why with CGI now, you can get this photorealism. It's an outstanding method that you can use when it's appropriate, and creating a character in Star Wars, it certainly is. But J.J. Abrams had something to say about Lupita.
Just listening to what Lupita was saying, it just reminded me, people have said to me, I don't understand, you cast someone so beautiful as Lupita, and then you had her be a motion capture character, and I think, would it be okay if she were ugly? Like, what?
And trust me, there have been some people that have actually made that comment. Why use a beautiful person to do motion capture? It's also about fluidity of movement and grace and elegance, all of which Lupita is. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Behind the Lens is sponsored in part by the Culver City Observer. Located in the heart of Screenland, Culver City Observer is available in print and online at www.culvercityobserver.com. And welcome back. We are in the process of waiting for either Timur or Marja to call. I'm not sure. We weren't sure which one would be calling in first. But let's get back to Star Wars. And Larry Kasdan. Larry Kasdan has a storied history with the franchise. He wrote Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, is the unequivocal best of the best when it comes to this franchise. He knows the world. And teaming up with J.J. Abrams, J.J. knows space, galaxies, from that little other franchise called, I think it's Star Trek. So to have the two of them team up is very exciting. And Larry knows the history, the legacy, inside and out, having contributed to the two episodes, the two chapters in the franchise that predate where the Force Awakens picks up. So, Larry Kasdan, is there any kind of fear? What is, any kind of trepidation about putting pen back to paper to pick up this story 40 years later?
I don't associate the process with fear. JJ and I jumped into the thing under a lot of time pressure, and we had fun. And in fact, the first day that we started real work on it, we said, we must have fun with this every day. It's really a privilege, and you have to be very lucky to get to write the next Star Wars. And so we didn't really have fear. I think we had trepidation about fulfilling people's expectations, that they be satisfied with what we came out with. But we didn't want them to know what we were going to come up with, and we wanted that this moment that's coming up next week would be a fresh moment for as many people in the world who were interested in it. So that's the only pressure is, can you do something that's worth that much anticipation?
And everybody is on pins and needles, waiting to see if Larry can live up to the build-up. But nothing would be complete on Star Wars without hearing from the man who's taken up the mantle, J.J. Abrams. And one of the most fascinating aspects of the film, from what we've all been able to see, is the costuming. Of course, my favorite is hands down Kylo Ren, my little Kylo Ren Disney Infinity character here. And it is absolutely stunning up close and in person. But Kylo Ren's current costume wasn't always about Kylo Ren. And JJ does some talking about costumer Mark Kaplan's work on the costumes.
The costume that was the most challenging, I think, for us to arrive at, and Michael Kaplan, the costume designer, I cannot wait for you to see what he's done in this movie. There are so many cool, and many you have not seen at all, costumes that are extraordinary. The most difficult one was Kylo Ren, and we went through, I don't know how many hundreds and probably thousands of iterations and different versions. And one of the great things about that was, over the course of that, the costume for Captain Phasma was designed that was actually pitched as a Kylo Ren costume originally, and for story reasons it didn't make sense. It didn't work, but we suddenly realized, oh my God, this is one of the greatest looking costumes I've ever seen. And she became one of my favorite characters in the movie. But the design of Kylo Ren was the most difficult one, and when we finally saw the mask and the beginning of that design, it was really instantly clear that was the winner. And I'm very grateful to Michael and his whole amazing team.
And as you'll see in the video this week, and then when you see the film, up close and personal, I had a chance to see Kylo Ren's costume and Captain Phasma's costume, and both are stunning. The face mask, the design of the face mask, which kind of looks a lot like what the exterior of the new Peterson Automotive Museum looks like here in Los Angeles, it dazzles, it shines, it gleams. And Captain Phasma's costume, the entire costume is all silver, and it stuns. And I am a huge fan of what Mark Kaplan has done in the past anyway. But I think he's even outdone himself with this particular film. So, who better to give us some final thoughts on what to expect from Star Wars this week than J.J. Abrams himself?
I cannot wait for you to see the work that everyone on this couch has done in the movie. The scariest day for me was when Harrison Ford was injured, which was just absolutely hideous. But the every day felt like there were challenges because I knew how important this was to so many people, and I that was never a presence that went away, and so every decision I knew had this importance, and yet we had a day to make, we had a story to tell, and it was always about trying to do the best work possible.
So we'll find out. I can't wait. I, for one, can't wait. And I only have to wait until tomorrow to see this. So I cannot wait. And I hope all of you go out in the meantime, take advantage of all the cool merchandise. Have a lot of fun. Target, a great place if you just want to pick up some nickel dime, Star Wars pencils for your kids, these crayon packs and all. It's absolutely fabulous. Oh, and I have just been given a message here. We have the one and only Timur Bekmambetov. Hello, Timur.
Hello.
This is Debbie of Behind the Lens. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Oh, I am so thrilled. When we talked earlier in the year about Unfriended, you were hard at work in Italy. Everybody laughed at me because we did our phone interview in the middle of the night. I said, hey,
yes,
if it means talking to Timur at 2 a.m, I'm doing it. So this is a treat.
But I'm in Moscow, and it's 10:30.
Oh, my God.
Hello.
Okay, now it's your turn to be up late. I am just, it's a thrill to have you join me, Timur. You know how much love I have for you and your work. And
thank you very much.
I am so excited with what you're doing with Marja Lewis Ryan. People don't realize how much you mentor these young people and these up and coming filmmakers. And it's veterans like you, the visionaries, that you're perpetuating the filmmaking line for decades to come. And I saw Marja's play One in the Chamber.
Yes, me too. It's how we met.
Oh, and amazing. So how did you become involved with her new play, A Good Family? And this is the one that's going to be made into a film that you're going to be executive producing.
I hope so. I will do my best to make it happen. To make a movie, help her to make a movie based on this play. She is finishing the movie for our company. It calls Liked,
mm-hmm.
and it's a screen capture comedy. The same language as Unfriended, but it's not scary movie. It's very funny movie, and we spent almost a year working on this new screen capture movie, and then she sent me this play, and I really like this, and then she said that she wants to make a play, and I said that we will be happy to help her, and I think we found a great instrument, the great pipeline, how to develop projects, because the play is the best way how we can test the water, mm-hmm. and just to develop the material.
Is this the first time that you have jumped into the waters of stage of plays?
No. I was a stage designer for many years, and I studied in '80s as a stage designer, as a scenographer. It's my real passion. The stage, and unfortunately, I missed the theater for missing the theater for many years, and it was kind of a great present for me.
That now you're back with theater.
Yes, I said to her, Marja, I want to be a stage designer. She said, no, I have one. Okay.
Okay. How do you say no to you? How can anyone say no to you, Timur?
No, she has a team, and I really like what she's doing, and I really like her writing, and I really like how the balance, which is what's really important for any theater, any show. There's a balance between playfulness and serious conversation, because it's very elegant, the writing, how she wrote it and directed.
Well, and something that I noticed with Marja's work with One in the Chamber, she keeps the project judgment-free and lets the audience develop their own ideas and positions on the issues that she chooses, because she picks these hot-button issues to write about.
Yes, especially with a good family. It's really edgy.
It's
because I think this problem has a lot of different contexts here and angles, and it's very contemporary.
and
very honest.
And for the audience, because I know some reviews are out, and so people do know the crux of the story. It's about a family on Christmas, and one of the sons, he gets accused of raping someone, and all of this plays out in front of his family. And whether it's true, whether it's not, whether it's one of these misinterpretations, this is all unfolds in the play, and the audience gets to reach their own conclusions on many familial issues that surrounds.
Yeah, it's like a wake up call for all of us. Like the audience really feels it, that suddenly you watching this show, you understand that how fragile is the world we live in. I mean, this comfortable world of the middle class America, or I don't. It could be anywhere. It could be in France and England.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're
Russia.
seeing the fragility every single day. Something's happening somewhere, and that's something that you, as a filmmaker, your films always speak to a bigger picture. Day watch, night watch, they make you think. It takes you outside of the box. Even Wanted took you outside of the box.
Yeah.
Unfriended was a whole new way of storytelling that, people had not really seen before. And I thought Unfriended was absolutely fabulous, the way you played that out, everything within a computer screen and on cell phone. So I can't wait to see, Liked. I can't wait to see what you and Marja have done with that film.
Yes, and you asked me a question why I'm experimenting and just we're collaborating with the young filmmakers and writers. It's very, very simple, because it's a way how I can learn things from them. Because in our business is very important to move forward, and to learn, and just to communicate with the young generation, with people because they are our audience too.
Mm-hmm. What?
And I feel that every time when I work with Marja or with Nelson, I learn.
What do you think is the biggest thing that you've learned from these younger filmmakers now?
Just about how responsible they are, because I feel that my generation, we were less responsible. We were less serious, let's say, about our life and our destiny, or it's what I feel. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about myself, but I'm working with a new generation filmmakers. I really feel that they are much more, how to say it, responsible. Mm-hmm. They care. They care about how they live, what they're doing, and maybe because of the social networks, people know it's the whole world now is a small village. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows everyone, and maybe this is what makes them different and special.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think by calling them responsible, I think you just made a whole generation of parents very, very happy, because so many people don't think that their kids are responsible. But for you to see that, I think it gives parents hope for their own children.
No, they are because it's what I think it's because of the social networks. Mm-hmm. You cannot hide things anymore.
Yeah.
You cannot pretend that you are not aware of bad things happening around the world, and also they see what's happened with us, with the world today's world, and they feel that they should fix something. Mm-hmm. They should fix this. Mm-hmm. They must fix this.
Well, now I have to ask you, T. I'd be very remiss not to ask you about what's happening with Ben-Hur. I know you're in post-production.
Yes.
Is there anything you can tell us? You're working.
Yes, we are working on the visual effects and sound and polishing the cut. It's an interesting process. It's a very, very creative and very, very it's very unusual movie. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate the patience and the how much studio wants to make it right. Mm-hmm. How much producers focused and wants to make it right.
Well, you've taken on something of Herculean proportion, because Ben-Hur is such a legendary and beloved piece of cinema.
Yes, and I hope we will give audience new and very classy at the same movie at the same time.
Well, I know one thing I noticed I didn't realize before, that Roma Downey and Mark Burnett are on board as producers, and I know how particular Roma is in getting involved in projects that do hearken to the Bible and to religion. So to me, you already have one kind of seal of approval and stamp on this project by having Roma and Mark on board. And I think a lot of the religious communities now are going to be very interested in seeing the film beyond the normal audience.
Yes, and it's a responsibility for us too. It's not a movie it's a movie with a message and with a. It's not. I don't think it's a religious movie. I think it's a human. It's very humanistic book in the story. In the movie, based and tonally, very much based on the original book.
Oh, good.
Where the idea of forgiveness was is a core of the story.
Well, I for one
and I really enjoying to work with Mark and Roma. They're very smart, and first of all, they're professionals because we know how successful they are in the TV world and how experienced they are to communicate with a huge TV audience. And it helps because it makes them brave and sharp and and they can make decisions, which is really important for producers.
And they can let you concentrate on directing the film.
Yes.
Timur,
yes.
Thank you so much for joining me
today.
Always a pleasure. I can't wait to talk to you and hopefully see you next year for Ben-Hur.
I'm sure. We should meet one day. We should
in person.
Figure out how to meet in person.
We will.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, well, that is the first. We got a call from Moscow. So, Timur Bekmambetov. So we're going to take a short break. We don't know what's happened to our writer-director, Marja Lewis Ryan, but don't worry, we have plenty of clips on some critic-nominated films like Trumbo. So we'll be back after this short message. Located in the heart of Screenland, Culver City Observer is the #1 newspaper in Culver City, covering local news, politics, and community events, with sports by Mitch Chortkov and movie reviews by Debbie Lynn Elias. Culver City Observer is the place to go to be in the know. When you think Culver City and the heart of Screenland, think Culver City Observer. When you think movies and movie reviews, think Culver City Observer. Culver City Observer, a division of Arizona Newspaper Group, is available in print and online at www.culvercityobserver.com. And welcome back to Behind the Lens. I'm Debbie Elias, moviesharkdoubler.com. You can find me in print. You can find me online. You can find me here every Monday live on adrenalineradio.com and adviceradio.com with Behind the Lens, where we go behind the lens and below the line. And if you're listening today, you just heard Timur Bekmambetov calling in from Moscow, talking about mentoring Marja Lewis Ryan and her project, A Good Family. Heard a little bit about Ben-Hur and a little bit about how working with younger talent, influences Timur, as accomplished as he is. So, and yes, we will hear more from Timur next year before when we start the press for Ben-Hur, which I can't wait for. But right now, while we're waiting to see if Marja Lewis Ryan calls in, we're going to pick up where we left off last week, started talking about Point Break and my discussions with Ericson Core about having 4 second unit directors, the various disciplines, each specializing in some of the extreme sport disciplines. But a big question that has come up involving Point Break is GoPros. And a lot of people are under the impression that GoPros were used in filming the new Point Break, which opens on Christmas Day and which you really do have to see. There aren't any GoPros used, but GoPros play an important part in how this film came to be. Here's what Ericson had to say about that.
We didn't use GoPros at all in the film because of the quality of them. It was not good enough for the big screen that we wanted to do. But it is interesting that when I would look at action films, and there's wonderful action films that are out there and very successful from Marvel on through, but it's pretty clear that what's happening in those films is not real. When someone gets thrown through a building or a car drives from one to another, you realize that the sense of peril and the sense of reality isn't there, which is fine for entertainment, but the authenticity and the sense of real peril isn't there. When I was researching much of this, looking at the GoPro footage, also produced by Jeb and Chris and Xavier Del Rue and the others in the film, you know that it's real. And there is an intensity to that. And so the authenticity of what GoPro has brought out there and allowing athletes to bring the most extraordinary things to bear was very important to us. And so we had that mentality in terms of going light and small and getting the cameras exactly in those positions. But instead of our cameras being tiny, the lightest we had was 15 pounds to get a proper motion picture camera with a red camera with a proper lens that was flown at 140 miles an hour in a nylon suit through a crack in Switzerland or on waves. So we used our version of it. So that mentality was important as far as the authenticity of it, but we took it to a larger cinematic level.
Yeah, GoPro and the YouTube channel, it's probably one of my favorite YouTube channels that I watch. It just opens you up to a world of absolute authenticity, as you say, and it's really given it to the world. I mean, YouTube by itself has opened the world up to a lot of people. But yeah, now that we have that, people, if you're going to do these stunts, these sports, people have seen what it actually looks like. So you've got to do it right, otherwise they're going to call it. And yeah, I think Andrew said it, Jim said it, the courage to do it was phenomenal. That's one of the big reasons I wanted to be a part of the movie, was my love of sports and my love of extreme sports, my love of surfing, and the fact that we were going to treat them all with the utmost respect. Yeah, I feel that was really important, and something that, because of GoPro, the world now does treat extreme sports with a bit more respect than a bunch of, I don't know, maybe people used to think they were pimply teenagers riding skateboards. But it's a bit more real than that, and I think this movie shows that.
Just to that point, I don't know if it's interesting, but we had a huge, GoPro itself actually presented a huge challenge, because the kids are so used to seeing the GoPro images and these point of view perspectives that are for real. Ericsson, of course, and the whole movie in general wanted to capture that. So for us in the surf, we literally had what's called a Red Epic, which is quite a heavy camera. It's the smallest we could get. That we custom made a camera lens to be in a water housing, and then we had to get two guys inside the tube at Chopu, which is a deadly wave on its own. I remember talking to the surfers and going, so you want us to hold on to this and go into the tube and have two guys inside the tube holding on to this? I said, yeah, that's exactly what I want you to do. And I had Bruce Irons is one of the best guys at Chopu. It was just like, you are kidding me. He's like, is it okay if I drop it or I let it go? I said, yeah, it's perfect. Just try and get the shot and we'll get it back. He's like, you're joking, right? I was like, yeah. And he's inside the barrel and he throws this camera away, which is like, I think all parts included, it's like $100,000. And I remember looking at it, it just went up inside the tube and he's like upside down inside it, going over the falls with the camera, and he goes straight down at the bottom of the wave. And then all the camera crew, like we had all these safety guys and they're running in to find the camera. We did it 4 times and we had like a life jacket around the camera and it comes popping up. It was like popping up. And everyone, like every Tahitian, we were out there, we just run around and get the camera, because we had bonuses. We had bonuses built in if you got the camera back.
I never got to work on a crew where we had bonuses if you got a camera back. But we started hearing from Ericson Core, director and cinematographer. Luke Bracey jumped in there to talk about GoPros because he is really part of the GoPro generation. And then wrapping that up was Phil Boston, one of the 4 second unit directors. And Phil Boston, his big specialty is surfing. He's done Chasing Mavericks in the past, known for so many commercials and sporting footage, all with surfing. So I find it very entertaining that they actually built a little life jacket for the camera and the lens to protect it. Point Break will be out in theaters on Christmas Day, and it truly is the biggest adrenaline rush you will ever experience on film. See it in 3D. If you have vertigo, do not go see this movie. I'm telling you right now, because you will see Luke Bracey, Edgar Ramirez, hanging off of Angel Falls, 3,000 feet in the air. They're at the very top of Mont Blanc in Switzerland. And it is them standing there. Granted, when the actual execution of some of the extreme sports begins, then the extreme sport athletes step in. But no, they had to be there as well for the energy, for the emotional purposes, and the authenticity that Ericson and all of them involved in this project wanted, because of that authenticity factor and with so many eyes on the sports. So it is one of my favorite films of the year. It is definitely in my top 5 action films. So those of you diehard Point Break fans of Catherine Bigelow's Patrick Swayze, Keanu Reeves version, do not be disheartened. Trust me, I hate remakes. So when I find remakes that I really like, that says a lot. Go see Point Break on Christmas. Another movie to see on Christmas is going to be The Hateful Eight, but we're going to talk about Hateful Eight next week, because I spent 7 hours doing below the line interviews with costume, hair, makeup, sound, production design, and what goes into The Hateful Eight to make the beautiful lensing in 70 millimeter ultra Panavision so special. You're going to hear about it here. And an interesting little tidbit for you, having just had Timur, and Timur has finished shooting Ben-Hur over in Italy and is now in post-production. The original Ben-Hur, the lenses that were actually used to shoot the famous chariot race with Charlton Heston, those very lenses were used to shoot The Hateful Eight. So there is our little 2 degrees of separation for today. But let's move on. Trumbo finally has been picking up some more attention. Helen Mirren has been getting more attention than anybody else with Trumbo. Bryan Cranston, who plays Dalton Trumbo, is finally getting his due with some notoriety with some of the critics associations. But one of the great things, I had a chance to talk to Jay Roach in an exclusive sit-down one-on-one about the film. And a few weeks ago, you heard a little bit about what Jay was talking about, what his considerations for bringing the world of a McCarthy-era Hollywood to life, and with the Hollywood 10 and with Dalton Trumbo and the rest of people were undergoing at that time during the Red Scare and the blacklisting. So let's go back and hear director Jay Roach talk a little more about yesterday and today, because the film is as politically and socially relevant today as when the events occurred back in the 1950s.
You know, I think
it's so relevant.
It's about that period, but it's also about today, because if you compare the fear of totalitarian communism, which was real, it was, I mean, the threat was real, to the fear of terrorists today, and obviously that's real. The terrorism is a threat. But if you look at how politicians, journalists, people who have an agenda use fear to extrapolate to some inner threat, to people that you know, people you want to accuse of being unpatriotic or less tapped into the fear than you are, so therefore they're less American, they're un-American. You know, I remember politicians saying, we're the real Americans in the last election. You know, that use of fear happens in history all the time, and I think I hope if the film does anything, it'll never change anything, but I hope it just gets people to ask, am I being manipulated by something that's, you know, sort of related to what I'm being asked to do, or a change in opinion I'm being asked to make, or is this authentic? And I think a lot of times it's a spell, you know, it's kind of like a spell that gets cooked up with the same ingredients, history, same moments in history, same ingredients, different moment in history, time and time again.
And making those moments in history come to life in Trumbo are the performances. As I mentioned, Bryan Cranston is flawless as Dalton Trumbo. and Helen Mirren as gossip monger Hedda Hopper. Hedda Hopper would, because of social media, we don't really have that today, but because of so much diversity in the media and with the press. But back in the 50s, Hedda Hopper actually ruled with an iron fist because newspapers were your source of information. God bless newspapers. And she had 32 million readers. So when you had 32 million of the American population reading what she wrote, she had clout, she had control, and Helen Mirren really brings that to life. But when you're a director and you're trying to recapture or reinvent, reimagine, and create the essence of what transpired, what was true fact, casting and performance is very key and important to a director. And here's what Jay had to say about the actors and channeling the performances of the real life characters.
I think of it as channeling. I talk about it as like you have to channel them. You have to let them take over your body, your persona, so that there's enough overlap between that real life iconic person. Because if it's just an impersonation, that I love watching great impersonators. I loved watching Tina Fey do Sarah Palin, but I also loved what Julianne Moore did for Game Change. In this case, to do John Wayne, like in a sense of impersonating him, would have been a disaster because I needed an actor who would help give me access to what it might have actually felt like off camera, off stage, to be facing off against Hedda Hopper. John Wayne was tough on these guys too, but Hedda was much tougher. Yeah. If Hedda Hopper, once a commie, always a commie. Hedda
had a personal agenda.
She had a personal agenda, and she, even Charlie Chaplin, she basically got him deported and fought her whole life to keep him out of the United States, and said even right before she died, "I hope you don't let Chaplin ever back in the country." But to let people play, and Edward G. Robinson, Michael Stuhlbarg also playing a known iconic guy. By the way, that story is so heartbreaking because he can't escape. I know, and I love that, the complexity of that story.
And going hand in hand with performance, especially in a period piece, as we just heard in an earlier clip, J.J. Abrams talking about the costuming in Star Wars. Well, costuming and production design is important in Trumbo as well. Daniel Orlandi is costume designer, and Mark Ricker is production designer, and hand in hand their work is stunning. So how do you capture this world and make it feel as lived in and as authentic as the story that actually unfolded?
Daniel I've worked with so often. We're like twins who speak a language only twins understand. Daniel is so instantaneously on it. The whole hundreds of background people will show up, and every single one is what I was hoping for. And Mark, I've only worked. That was the first time I worked with Mark, but now I'm doing a second film with him on the LBJ movie. For instance. What amazing taste and what he's accomplishing on the budgets to get the cinematic scope and the kind of just the evoke the period in all of its grandeur. Those scenes with Hedda in the American Legion with the red and that beautiful restaurant where Kirk Douglas confronts Hedda and Stripling and the party. I mean, they're the mixture of the design elements, which again all serve the story, evoke the period, but they were also remind you how beautiful some of the design elements were back then. I don't think ever about finding the kind of line that the clothes Trumbo would wear or Hedda Hopper would wear, but my crew is really devoted.
And for those of you that haven't seen Trumbo yet, yes, definitely. Go see it. This is another costuming gem you'll be hearing me talk about in the coming weeks after the first of the year as we kick off year 2 of Behind the Lens. I've talked to all the below the line talent on Carol as well, and one of my favorite costumers on there is Sandy Powell. So we're going to hear what Sandy has to say. We got a lot more behind the lens, below the line stuff in the new year for you. Next week, Eddie Jameson will be here talking about the King of Herrings. And we'll see what other surprises and Hateful Eight next week. Until then, behind the lens.